All right, today we are going to cover Topic 4, Lesson 1, which is divide multiples of 10 and 100. Now, there's a couple important vocabulary words that you need to know before we start this lesson, and we'll also review these in later lessons. First thing we need to know are the vocabulary words for when we're working with a division problem. Now, we've already learned when we're adding, we call the answer the sum, and when we're subtracting, we call the answer the difference. We talked in our last unit on multiplication that the answer to a multiplication problem is called the product. Well, it's just as important for you to know what the answer to a division problem is called. When we are dividing, we call the answer the quotient, Q-U-O-T-I-E-N-T. You will hear that word a million times in this unit, so it's very important that you know the quotient is the answer to a division problem. When I say to you, what's the quotient? Answer to a division problem. When I say to you, what's the answer to a division problem? Quotient. You need to be able to know that. The next word that we have are the numbers that we're dividing by and the numbers that are being divided. I like to call this little thing right here, so the little division symbol, I like to call this the doghouse. So when you're working with the doghouse, when you're dividing, you're going to have three different numbers. You're going to have the first number inside the doghouse. That's the big number that is being divided. When we're dividing, we start with a big number and we're breaking it down into smaller numbers. We're breaking it down into smaller groups. So my biggest number is usually the dividend, at least for this unit. So the big number, the number that we're dividing, that's being divided, is called the dividend. All right, so that's the number that is being broken apart. The number I'm dividing it by, or the number of groups I'm breaking it into, is called the divisor. If you guys think back to prefixes and suffixes, you should remember that the suffix OR means one who does something, something or a person who does something. In this case, it's the number who does the dividing. So the 4 on the outside of the doghouse is the number that is doing the dividing. We're breaking the 32, the dividend, into 4 groups. So the 4 is doing the dividing. It's called the divisor, and it sits outside of the doghouse. It knocks on the door. This is my little door right here. All right, now, the number in each group is my quotient. That's my answer. This is on the roof of the doghouse. I like to call this my little roof of my doghouse. So our answer when we're dividing is our quotient, and that sits on the roof of the doghouse. All right, let's check out how to now divide by multiples of 10 and 100. Dividing by multiples of 10 and 100 is very similar to multiplying by multiples of 10 and 100. So for instance, if I have 220 divided by 2, remember the number that's being divided is my dividend, and the number that's doing the dividing is my divisor. So for this problem, what I want to do is I want to borrow my 0. Same thing that we did when we are talking about multiplying by zeros. Now, dividing is a little bit different, though, because we have to be careful about if there's zeros on both sides. In this case, I don't have a 0 in my divisor. It's just a regular old 2. So what I would do if I had zeros on both sides is I would permanently erase any sets of zeros on both sides, and then whatever is left over in my dividend, I just borrow it. I'll show you what I mean in the next problem. So for this problem, all I want to do is make this problem easier. We always in math want to simplify things so that they're not so tricky. So I'm going to borrow that 0, keyword being borrow, I need to give it back. So I'm going to borrow that 0, and then I'll have the easy problem, 22 divided by 2. 22 divided by 2, or if I write it in my doghouse, 22 is my dividend, 2 is my divisor. 22 divided by 2 is 11. Now what I have to do is give that 1 0 back, and I get 110 as my final answer. So just like when we were multiplying, you borrow your zeros, and then you give them back at the end. Now, let me show you what I mean about if I have zeros on both sides of the division sign. So here I have 220 divided by 20. When you have zeros on both sides of the division sign, you want to permanently erase any zeros that they have in common. I see that I have 1 0 here and 1 0 on this side, so I can permanently erase one set of zeros. One set of zeros. There are no zeros left, so now I'm just going to divide this problem, and again, 22 divided by 2 equals 11. I do not give any zeros back because I don't have any left. I erased one set of 0 from both sides, so they're gone forever. I don't need them. If I had, for instance, 2,200 divided by 20, what I would do first is permanently erase any zeros they have in common. There's 1 0 in my divisor, so I can erase 1 0 in my dividend. And then I'm left with 220 divided by 2. Then I would borrow my extra 0, and I would put that back at the end. But when you have zeros in common, you permanently get rid of them, and then you just borrow any left over. Let's try another problem. Let's try 360 divided by 3. 360 divided by 3. Remember, I want to make this problem easier, so I'm going to borrow my 0. I don't have any zeros on the divisor side, so I can't get rid of them permanently. I'm going to borrow my 0. I end up with 36 divided by 3. Let's see, 3 goes into 3 one time. That equals 3. If I subtract it, I have no remainders. Bring down my 6. 3 goes into 6 two times. If I multiply that, I get 6, and I have no remainders. So 36 divided by 3 equals 12. To finish this problem off, I have to give that 1 0 back. And now 360 divided by 3 equals 120. So like I said, dividing multiples of 10 and 100 is very similar to multiplying them. Borrow your zeros, give them back at the end. Erase any sets of zeros that they have in common. Let's try 72,000. We'll do a big one. 72,000 divided by 8. All right. When you first look at this problem, you may go, holy moly, 72,000 is a giant number. I don't know how to divide by that. Oh gosh, that's crazy. I'm starting to get a little nervous. Not too hard. Remember, all you need to do, borrow your zeros. Now I have 72 divided by 8. Because I know my multiplication problems really well and I know my division problems, I know that 9 times 8 equals 72. So 72 divided by 8 has to equal 9. And so I'm going to solve my little baby problem. Now I have to put 1, 2, 3 zeros back, 1, 2, 3 zeros back, and put my comma in to get my final answer. So this problem is actually very easy. Let's try another one. Let's try 4,200 divided by 6. All right, remember, the first thing I want to do is borrow my zeros so that my problem is easier. When I borrow my zeros, I'm left with the little bitty problem of 42 divided by 6. I know that 6 times 7 equals 42. So 42 divided by 6 has to equal 7. Now, if you're still working on your division facts, if you're still a little rusty with your division facts and you don't have the facts memorized, especially for some of the bigger multiplication tables, what you can do is skip count. Remember that multiplication is nothing more than repeated addition. You're taking the same number and adding it to itself over and over again. If I don't know what 42 divided by 6 is, what I can do is I can count by 6s until I get to 42 and see how many times I had to count by 6. Let me show you what I mean. I like to do it on the right-hand side. So I'm going to count by 6. 6 plus 6 is another 12, plus another 6 is 18. And I'm going to keep going until I get to 42. Plus another 6 is 30, plus another 6 is 36, plus another 6 is 42. Ooh, all right, I got to 42. Now, in order to figure out what 42 divided by 6 was, all I have to do is count how many times did I skip count by 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I skip counted 7 times. So 42 broken into groups of 6 equals 7. Now, I don't recommend that you use this long term. It's going to take you a long time to solve all of your problems if you're skip counting everything. But while you're still working on your multiplication and division facts, skip counting can help you. So this method can help you. So now that I have my little problem of 42 divided by 6 equals 7, I'm going to give back my 2 zeros. So 4,200 divided by 6 equals 700. I'm going to put a problem on the screen. See if you can solve it on your own. I'm going to write this problem down. What I want you to do is to pause the recording and then go ahead and hit play once you're ready to see if your answer is correct. So let's try 6,300 divided by 7. Hit pause, solve the problem on your own, and when you think you know the answer, hit play, and we'll see if you're correct. All right, let's see if you got this problem right. So remember, the first step, borrow my zeros. Now I have 63 divided by 7. 63 divided by 7 equals 9. If I didn't know that, I could skip count by 7s until I got to 63. And then I would count how many times I skip counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9. Now I'll put my 2 zeros back at the end, and 6,300 divided by 7 equals 900. All right, happy dividing, guys. Good luck.